The elevator door slid shut with a soft metallic click, sealing in a silence that felt heavier than it should have. She stood in the corner, clutching her bag tightly, her reflection trembling in the polished steel walls. Her voice, barely above a whisper, broke the quiet. "I've never told anyone this before. I'm still a virgin." She wasn't even sure why she said it. Maybe it was the weight of everything she'd been carrying. Maybe it was the fear of being judged before she even got the chance to prove herself. Or maybe, she just needed someone to hear her truth, even if that someone was a stranger. What she didn't know was that she wasn't alone. Before we step into this powerful story, take a moment to support the channel. If stories like this touch your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps bring more meaningful stories like this to life. The elevator hummed as it climbed higher, floor by floor. Emily stared at the numbers blinking above the door, trying to calm her racing heart. It was her first day at one of the biggest tech companies in the country. A place where people wore confidence like a second skin, where success was expected, not earned slowly. She didn't feel like she belonged there. The confession had slipped out while she was on the phone moments before stepping into the elevator. She had been talking to her best friend, trying to explain why she felt so out of place not just at work, but in life. "I'm 27, she had whispered. "Everyone else seems so experienced. In everything. Relationships, life, confidence. And I'm just me." She thought she had hung up. But she hadn't. Standing behind her, near the control panel, was a man in a tailored suit. Quiet. Still. Listening. Daniel Carter, the CEO of the company, had entered the elevator just seconds after her, unnoticed in her anxiety. He wasn't supposed to be there, at least, not like this. CEOs usually had private elevators, assistants, schedules packed to the minute. But that morning had been different. And now, so was this moment. Daniel didn't speak. He didn't interrupt. But something in Emily's voice, raw, unfiltered, painfully honest, cut through the noise of his usual world. The meetings, the numbers, the deals, all of it suddenly felt distant. The elevator reached the 28th floor. Emily stepped out quickly, unaware of the silent witness behind her. She adjusted her blazer, took a deep breath, and walked into a world that already felt too big for her. Daniel remained inside. "Hold all my meetings," he said quietly into his phone. There was a pause on the other end. "All of them, sir?" his assistant asked, surprised. "Yes," he replied, his eyes still fixed on the closing elevator doors. "All of them." He stepped out onto the same floor. Emily's day didn't start well. Her hands shook during introductions. She stumbled over her words in meetings. Every glance from her co-workers felt like silent judgment, even if it wasn't. By noon, she sat alone in the break room, staring at her untouched lunch. First days are the hardest. She looked up, startled. It was him, the man from the elevator. Daniel Carter. Her heart dropped. I'm so sorry," she stammered, standing up abruptly. "I didn't realize you were." "It's okay," he said gently, raising a hand. "You don't have to apologize." She felt her face burn with embarrassment. He had heard everything. Every insecure word. Every doubt. "I shouldn't have said those things," she whispered. Daniel sat across from her, not as a CEO, but as someone who understood something deeper. "Why not?" he asked softly. Emily blinked. "Because, people don't say things like that. Not out loud." "Maybe they should," he replied. There was no judgment in his voice. No hint of mockery. Just calm understanding. "You think everyone here has it figured out," he continued. "That they all walked in confident, fearless, and complete. Emily hesitated. It feels like it? Daniel smiled faintly. It always does. From the outside. He leaned back slightly, his expression thoughtful. When I was your age, I lied in my first major presentation, he admitted. I pretended to understand something I didn't. I was terrified someone would find out I wasn't as capable as they thought. Emily looked at him, surprised. You? Yes, he said. And I carried that fear for years. Not because I wasn't good enough, but because I believed I had to be perfect. The room felt quieter now, like the world outside had faded just enough for this moment to breathe. What you said in the elevator, he continued, wasn't weakness. It was honesty. And that's something most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Emily swallowed, her eyes slightly glassy. But what if people judge me, she asked. What if they think I'm behind? Daniel shook his head gently. Kind people won't judge you, he said. And the ones who do? Their opinions aren't worth carrying. There was something steady about his words. Something grounding. For what it's worth, he added, you showed more courage in that elevator than most people show in boardrooms. Emily let out a small, shaky laugh. It didn't feel like courage. It rarely does, he said. Over the next few weeks, something changed. Not overnight. Not magically. But slowly. Emily started speaking up in meetings. Not because she suddenly felt confident, but because she remembered that honesty mattered more than perfection. She asked questions. She admitted when she didn't know something. And instead of being judged, she was respected. Her co-workers began to see her not as inexperienced, but as real. Approachable. Authentic. Daniel watched from a distance. He didn't intervene directly again. He didn't need to. Sometimes, kindness isn't about grand gestures or constant guidance. Sometimes, it's about one moment, one conversation that shifts someone's entire direction. One afternoon, Emily found a note on her desk. It was simple. You belong here. D.C. She held it for a long time, her chest tight with emotion. Years later, Emily would look back on that day as the moment everything changed. Not because her life became perfect, but because she stopped trying to be someone she wasn't. She started living as herself. And that made all the difference. As for Daniel, he never forgot the elevator either. In a world filled with noise, pressure, and expectations, that quiet confession reminded him of something he had almost lost: the importance of seeing people, truly seeing them. Not for their titles, their achievements, or their image. But for their humanity. Because kindness doesn't always come in loud, dramatic moments. Sometimes, it's found in listening. In understanding. In choosing not to judge when it would be easier to do so. And sometimes, it's as simple as canceling a day full of meetings, just to remind one person that they matter. So if you take anything from this story, let it be this. You never know what someone is carrying inside. The quiet struggles, the hidden fears, the things they're too afraid to say out loud. But a little kindness, a moment of patience, a word of understanding can change everything. Be that moment for someone. Because in a world where people are often told to hide who they are, choosing kindness might just be the bravest thing you can do.